Well, October is National Fire Prevention Month, and the first full week in October, which is where we are starting right now, is National Fire Prevention Week. And so we thought it would be important and interesting to have a little conversation with someone who has expertise in this area to talk about some basic things we should be doing. Maybe it's just reminders, or maybe it's just reassurance that we're already doing them regarding our own fire safety at home. So with that, let's put on the brakes, grab a cup of coffee, and join the conversation because it's time for Coffee Breaks with Steve. Good morning and welcome to Coffee Breaks with Steve. My name is Steve and this is the show where we come together around our virtual coffee table each week and join the conversation to chat about interesting topics with amazing guests. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And if you've been with us before, welcome back. Yeah, this is Fire Safety Month and Fire Prevention Month, they call it. But it was a good time to remind ourselves that there are some basic things that we should know about and be prepared for in our homes. And we had a great conversation. We recorded a great conversation with our guest today, who I will talk about in a few minutes. Just see who's here. Shalane, good morning. Good morning, Shalane. Everybody drink. That's right. Don't forget to say hello. Thank you, Carissa. And Rick, good morning. We're going to be talking about Rick in a few minutes, but he doesn't know that. Don't say anything. Yeah, it's good to see you here. We do want to know that you are here, and so please let us know in the chat by saying hello, and make sure when we do get into our topic, I think it's one that everybody should have something to say something about, because we're going to be talking about the things that we should have operating effectively in our homes and the ways in which we should be behaving, and good habits and good procedures and good practices within our homes that aren't difficult. We just they need to be habit. And for many of us, maybe they already are. How's everybody doing this week? How's everybody doing this weekend? Carol and I went on Thursday midday and got hi Jerry, got both our flu and COVID shots updated on the same day at the same time. So not unusual. I always go into those prepared that I might, when I have a reaction to vaccines, it's usually about a day later, I'll feel just a little bit under the weather. I'll notice that. And yesterday I did. I was just feeling didn't stop me, didn't even really slow me down, but I wasn't feeling exactly 100%. And I actually off and on during parts of the day was running a little bit of a fever. And none of that was unexpected. I just took it in stride, went on with my day. I had people to see, meetings to go to, things to do, and by golly, I did them. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about our sweet and savory. We'll bring up the charcuterie and talk about some things that are going on. This is exciting for me. I think most of you know Izzy Stein. She's been a guest on this show. She's a friend, an amazing musical artist. And Izzy this year is the featured musical artist at the Manhattan Short Film Festival that has actually been going on for a week or so in Manhattan, and actually is going on at several hundred venues, not just in the United States, but around the world remotely. They broadcast, they have the film showing simultaneously around the same days in the various cities. And there are European cities, there are Asian cities, African venues, I think, in just about every state in the United States. And each year they pick, there is a competition. The people who want to be considered have to enter. And this is what they say: the selected musician or band will have his or her music featured in over 400 venues and to over 100,000 people worldwide during the Manhattan Short intermission and in all promotional materials leading up to the festival dates. We're just so proud of Izzy and all that she is doing. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat so you can go and check out what the Manhattan Short Film Festival has to say for itself, and see the promotion, see Izzy out there. And Izzy, I just want to say to you, well done, congratulations, and well deserved. I don't know how many entrants there were. I'm sure there were quite a few, but it just points out again the recognition of Izzy's talent and ability. All right, listen, we have some birthdays this week, including one today. I want to first talk about this. Sorry, calling all book lovers. Keep forgetting that I put this slide in there. We're still promoting and still want to try to pull everything together very, very soon for an episode that we're looking at doing on book clubs. And so we're looking for people who are currently participants in a book club where you read the book together, or have done that in the past enough to be able to talk about it. We'd like to get one or two more people than what we have to really create a panel and have the conversation. We'll record it ahead of time, so you won't be live on camera. And if you feel, what we always tell our guests when we record our conversations is, look, if you say something, or if I say something, that's more common, that sounds goofy or wrong, or you stumbled over your words or whatever, we edit that out. So if you're one of those people, or you know somebody who might be a good fit for the book club episode, and you think they might be a little bit shy to be on camera, can you reassure them that we don't do this ever to embarrass anyone? The only person who might ever end up being embarrassed during our episodes is yours truly. And I don't care. I am who I am. And you already know that about me. But we'd like to get this put together and record within the next couple weeks if possible. So there's the email address is up there, cbwsteve@comcast.net. If you're that book club participant, send us an email and let us know your interest. I'll get back to you right away. If you know somebody, make the introduction or let them know about it and make sure they have the email address. They don't have to, they're not even committing to anything when they email. They're just giving us a chance to meet and talk about it and see if they're a good fit. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Birthdays. Today is a very, very special birthday. Today is my wife Carol's birthday. Happy birthday, sweetheart. I love you. We're celebrating. I know we're celebrating all weekend. I would love to celebrate all week or all month. I know it's Fire Prevention Month, but it's also Carol birthday month. So we will celebrate. But I wanted to wish her a happy, happy birthday. And you can find her on Facebook and wish her a happy birthday there. It'd be wonderful if her Facebook was flooded with birthday greetings. I know she's gotten a few already today. And then Rick Venturi is celebrating a birthday this week as well on October 6th. Happy birthday, Rick. And I'm not going to talk about how old you are because you are one of those people who just seems to be forever young. I hope that I continue to be as young as you are perpetually, man. But happy birthday to you. And then another special birthday coming up this week, Summer. My granddaughter, Summer Wheelock, is having a birthday on October 10th. And we want to wish Summer a very, very happy birthday. And we will reach out to her, obviously, on the special day and make sure that she is celebrating as well. Hey, do you have a special day this week that we didn't catch that we need to know about and we need to be celebrating with you? You can put that in the chat right now. It's another way to let us know that you're here. Say hi. Let us know if you have a special day. It's all relevant. If you have a special day coming up sometime later in this month, perhaps later in the year, or even going into sometime next year, like January through December, whatever, you can send us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net and say, hey, I have a special day that I would love you to acknowledge when the week comes. Let us know what the special day is. It may be a birthday, maybe a wedding anniversary. It could be that it's something else special that you're celebrating or a special family member that you want to make sure we celebrate them as well. You can send us that information. We love to celebrate with people. We're all about the celebration. Yes, we are. Okay. I want to tell you a little bit about our guest. He's been on the show before, but he was here for an entirely different purpose. If you were with us back in July, Jeff Feen joined the show to talk about his special fundraising event that he put on for the first time this year and is working to repeat. Potato Pants. Do you remember Potato Pants? And it was about his efforts to raise money for a special foundation that is working toward medical research on a condition that he himself has. Well, we're going to meet Jeff again, but there's a different reason. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Jeff Feen is a resident of Yakima, Washington, who's had a multifaceted career, including working as a professional firefighter. He currently devotes his time and energy to his family and to fundraising efforts to support research for the medical conditions primary lateral sclerosis and hereditary spastic paraplegia. We wanted to have Jeff back because we know he knows about fire safety. And I think you're going to both enjoy and find a lot of great information in the conversation that's coming up right here. October is National Fire Prevention Month, and the first week in October, Fire Prevention Week. And so we want to take some time to review some things that may be common knowledge to a lot of people, but sometimes we kind of get distracted and forget about these things. So we have with us back again today, Jeff Feen, who is a former professional firefighter, to help us understand some information about basic home fire safety. Jeff, it's good to have you back on Coffee Breaks with Steve. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning.
Yeah, in your experience as a professional firefighter, I'm sure that you have encountered numerous situations where fires in a home maybe could have been prevented or something could have been more easily taken care of with just a basic understanding of some of the things that we should all have and be aware of and have access to in our homes.
Right. And well, first is smoke detectors. Smoke detectors save lives. And so, it gives you an early warning, and fire moves fast, moves a lot
Yeah.
faster than they show on TV and what people think.
And we're
So,
going to take a moment here to give people an opportunity to see just how quickly a fire can develop and move, and the importance of the smoke detector and that early warning.
the air, it sucks the oxygen out of the room really fast. And then when a flashover happens,
Right.
basically everything combustible in the room, including the air, because smoke is combustible, it's unburned products, that all catches fire. And, that's thousands of degrees. And so, it's not something you're going to live through. So smoke detectors save lives. They give you early warning.
Yeah.
So
With
So,
that, Jeff, I'm just, well, so many people say, well, yeah, I have smoke detectors, but they may just take them for granted. And there's probably some key things as well about maintaining and testing the smoke detectors. And then even from there, practicing the process with your family of what you do in the event those smoke detectors go off or there is a fire in the home.
right. And so this week, especially, a lot of fire prevention programs are doing what they call EDIF, exit drills in the home with kids, because letting kids know, they come home and they talk to their parents, and that hammers home the need for people, because as adults, we take things for granted, like you said. So uh, checking your smoke detector at least every at daylight savings, spring forward, fall back. That's a good time. It's also a good time to change the batteries. So you should change the batteries every time. And so this thing's working all the time. So make sure the batteries are okay in it. And
Right.
what I do a lot of times is I use a Sharpie and I just write the date on the batteries so that I know. And so, so that I know that it's been changed. But yeah, spring forward and fall back every year. Test your detector. It says test it every month. I don't know that anybody does that, but test it every month and then change the batteries. One of the things about smoke detectors is the dual sensor detectors. So most of the ones you find are ionization, and they detect typically faster moving fires. But smoldering fires are detected better by photoelectric detectors. And these are a little bit harder to find, but sometimes you can find them. And so if you see down here, there's the ionization and
Yes.
photoelectric symbols. So those dual sensors. Now, combination sensors usually are ionization detector and a carbon monoxide detector. But anyway, I like to have the two different ones that detect different kinds of fires.
There's a process that probably should be practiced as well, should be known and practiced for families, and that is, what are the exit routes? And if you do have to, get out of your house from different places in the house, how do you get out from those different locations if one pathway is potentially blocked? And both the safety aspect of, getting down low, but also getting to those exits and then having a meeting point for the family once you do get out of the house. Can you talk a little bit about that from a practicality and safety perspective?
Sure. So every room should have two exits. In most bedrooms, it's the door and then the window. And so if it's a window, especially on the second story, have a ladder so that if the door is blocked or it's hot outside, it's hot out there, you can go out the window and practice that too. And then have a known rally point for the family so that everybody goes to the same place and everybody's safe. Now, if you hear a detector, you should have your door closed at night because that's going to prevent smoke from getting in the room as quickly. But if you hear the detector, then roll out of bed. Don't stand up out of bed because there's bad air up high. So you want to
it can hit you very quickly. It doesn't take long for both the smoke itself and any of the poisons that are in the air to overcome you.
Right. I mean, just one breath of bad air, and your lungs might be cooked, or your system might shut down. So roll out of bed, then crawl through the door, then use the back of your hand to feel the doorknob, and make sure that it's not hot. Don't put your hand on it because that's going to burn you, and your hand might even stick. So use the back of your hand, and then if it's not hot, then peer out and make sure it's okay. But if it's not okay, then just close the door really quickly. And when you exit the house, you just get out of the house. But if you can close doors, that's great because I think most everybody's familiar with the fire triangle. And so, if there's no oxygen, well, then, there's no fire. So
Talk about that fire triangle again. I mean, that's practicality in terms of, I think everybody got that in, even basic science classes in school, but just mention it for the sake of a reminder.
right. So the fire triangle is fuel, which is the things burning, heat, and oxygen. So if you're depriving it of oxygen, it's going to use up the oxygen in that room pretty quickly. So,
Yeah.
If you're depriving it of oxygen, then that doesn't mean that you shouldn't still get out of the house.
Right.
Uh,
First priority, right?
Yeah.
And another thing that I think we often overlook, but when you have guests coming to stay with you, it's not that you need to go through a practice session of exiting the house with them, but make sure as well that your guests are aware of the exit routes and where the meeting points are.
Right. Accountability is really important. When the fire department shows up, they want to make sure everybody's out.
Yeah.
And so accountability is very, very important.
Moving on, I see that there's an object there on your counter in front of you that looks probably familiar to most people.
Yeah.
Fire extinguishers, which is another thing I think that we can easily take for granted in terms of fire extinguisher, and if there was a fire, I would just use it. But there are some things about a variety of things about fire extinguishers, having the right kind of fire extinguisher for various types of fires, knowing where those fire extinguishers are located to get quick access to them, how to use them to effectively put out a fire, and even maintaining them to make sure that they're in working order. Can you talk a little bit about all of those?
Sure. So this is a chemical extinguisher. It's the kind that you find at Costco or wherever you shop. It's an A, B, C extinguisher, and so the symbols they're the numbers, but then there's symbols, but then there's also these symbols which they're going to anymore. So Class A is just normal combustibles. Wood and paper and things like that. Class B is a flammable liquid fire, and Class C is electrical. And so get an extinguisher that does all three, and then you'll see some numbers on them. So like there's not on here, but on this label here there are some numbers. So in front of the A, it tells you basically what's the equivalent number of gallons of water that would be required to put that fire out. And so basically 1 is equal to 1 1/4 gallons of water, how much that would put out. So that's how much this extinguisher puts out, basically 1 gallon. And then there's 10 BC, and 10 is the square footage, or the number in front of it is the square footage of a flammable liquid fire, of a pool that it would put out. Mm-hmm. So it would put out a 10 square. This will put out a 10 square flammable liquid fire. And C basically is an A or a B fire that's just got electricity to it. So so that doesn't really have a number. So those two numbers have to do with A, again, is the amount of water. So 2A would be 2.5 gallons of water equivalent. And then 2B would be 2 square feet. In this case, it's 10. It's 1A and 10 BC. So as you mentioned, there are a number of things that make this useful. Having it accessible is one. Being able to use it, knowing how to use it. So don't spray it at the flames, spray it at the base of the flames, basically where the fire is coming from. And then maintaining it, making sure that it's usable. So typically when I change the batteries, I use a rubber mallet and I bang on this to make sure that the powder, or the chemical rather, inside of it is not caked up. And then I make sure that it's charged. And
there's a meter on there that shows you
correct
on all fire extinguishers, right?
Right. So, it'll show that. So, anyway, I do the maintenance on those each year too.
Where are some good locations to have a fire extinguisher in the home? What kinds of, we talked about accessibility, both easy to get to, but are there some areas of the home that sometimes make more sense than others?
Yeah, I typically have one near the kitchen. The stairs to our basement are basically in the kitchen, and so I have it at the top of the stairs. And so I have one on each level of the home. Now, in your garage or someplace, you're doing things that might, you might start a fire. You make sure that you want those accessible, and don't hide them behind stuff, and
Right.
maybe have them by a door. Just someplace that's very accessible.
As we move on a little bit to talk about other areas of safety, there's some basic areas around the house that that probably require some good look-sees. And I thought about things like if you have a wood burning or even a gas fireplace, furnaces, heaters. We were talking about electrical, and there are things having to do with where and how you have different appliances plugged in. And I don't know that we want to try to go through every single element of that, but can you talk a little bit about some of the things within our homes that we should be making sure we're keeping track of, taking a look at, and using properly?
Yeah. So, you should have carbon monoxide detectors, because there are things that, if we have a gas furnace or a gas stove, that could possibly put off carbon monoxide, a gas water heater. And then extension cords, you see that a lot. People don't, they don't like the look of extension cords running all over the place, but, don't overload outlets. And don't run extension cords under rugs, because that holds the heat. And then if it's under a rug, especially where it's getting a lot of traffic, the insulation on the cord gets abraded. So and then the rug can become a material to start a fire. So. And then make sure that your fireplaces, whether it's an insert or a regular fireplace, is that the flue and the chute is well maintained.
Yeah.
So have those cleaned out, and make sure that it's venting to the outside well.
Yeah, because people don't often think about the fact, they think about even the idea that a chimney or flue could get clogged, but also even buildup of creosote and those types of things can make it more susceptible to catching fire and having a flue fire, correct?
Right. So that creosote can build up, and then if you get a fire in there, some people feel like, oh, well, that's cleaning it out. But sometimes that can cause roof fires and attic fires, because if there's a crack in the mortar or something, that fire gets into, say, the attic.
A lot of us, as we get into certain seasons of the year, we like to have, candles burning. Sometimes it's for the visual effect. Sometimes they create nice aromas in the house. But candles can also become, in and of themselves, a bit of a hazard.
Yeah. So personally, I forbid candles in my home, lit candles. There are plenty of battery-powered candles that look very real anymore. So I really encourage the use of those. But lit candles, especially like at Christmas time or holidays, when people have dried wreaths, maybe they have it sitting on a table. I've actually seen a number of fires that have been caused by that, like the wreath around the candle on the center of the table, causing that. Or like by a window, and the wind blows the shade, and then the shade catches fire, or the drape. So yeah, I would discourage lit candles in general.
Christmas trees, if not properly watered, maintained, or having the proper electrical lighting on them, whatever else may go with that. If a Christmas tree catches fire, the amount of time that it takes for that tree to go up and for that to spread is almost instantaneous.
Yes.
We've mentioned a couple of things, keeping them watered and fresh, even knowing when you're buying the tree how fresh it is. Anything else about that you would want to mention?
Well, keeping it well watered. And, personally, I still like fresh trees. And I cut my own tree. And the ones you get on the lot usually they're already getting dry because they're sometimes up to a month old. Yes. By the time you get it. So personally, I have noticed that the tree uses most of the water, a lot of water initially, but it still uses water. So I water mine every day, especially because, some of the older lights especially put off a lot of heat. Right. Newer lights don't so much, but some of the older lights put off a lot of heat. And so I've even seen, some of the needles browned on those.
That's right.
So yeah, just make sure that whatever lights you're putting on there are not hot and not sitting directly against the needles, and keep it well watered.
As we're kind of wrapping up for today, I mean, there are so many things around home fire safety and fire prevention that we could get into. I know that you have some resources and other things that you like to share. Are there additional things that you just wanted to share with us today to keep us focused on the right areas of safety?
Well, like you said, there are so many things. Fire safety, especially this time of the year, so much is aimed at kids. It's always good to remember: stop, drop, and roll. Kids aren't the only ones that
that's right.
Those catch fire. So don't run around because you're just adding fuel. You're just adding oxygen to the fire, right? So Edith, have exit drills in the home. Practice that. Your smoke detectors. Just get out and and then accountability. Yeah. It's important to have accountability. So with your smoke or your fire extinguishers, have those accessible, know how to use it, and then check your smoke detectors and change the batteries in them.
I think a very simple place to finish this, Jeff, is just that adults and children, everyone in your family should be very familiar with the idea of dialing 911 in the event of an emergency. Now, as you said, if there's a fire, get out of the house first.
Right.
But everyone should know how to dial 911. If you're in the United States, if you're watching this from another country, know what the typically 3-digit phone number is to access emergency services where you are.
Right. And it's funny you said dialing because, we say dialing, but we push buttons anymore.
We push buttons now. I know. I'm old school. I still use that terminology. Well, Jeff Feen, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for taking the time to share from your own expertise and experience. And just our wish to everybody is that you have not only a safe October and a safe holiday season, but be safe and protected and healthy and knowledgeable and wise throughout the year in everything that you're doing. All right. Thank you, Jeff. I mean, wow. You can see where somebody who has experience as a firefighter, who has had to go in and see the damage that can be done in homes and how easy it might have been to prevent those fires. And he's a family man and a homeowner himself. The things that he talked about were things very practically that he's doing in his own home. At the end there, there was a little slide that shared the National Fire Safety Council as a resource. They are a great place to go for just some basic educational resources. They also have a lot of downloadable resources, graphics, posters. They even have coloring pages for kids. And a lot of that is information that schools use, et cetera. But it's great information for just you and I, for people who just want to make sure that we are up to date on those things. And your local fire department, they always have resources that they will come out and even make arrangements to come out and do a walk through your home and show you where there are issues or make sure that things are working well. One of the other things that Jeff and I talked about briefly, by the way, I wanted to also, we've put the website for the National Fire Safety Council. And there's also right now, there's a QR code showing on the screen. If you have your phone and you want to scan that, that's also taking you to the website for the National Fire Safety Council. We're going to leave that up there for a couple of minutes. But Jeff and I also talked about some of the things that older people may be dealing with. In some cases, they may be living alone. They may not have the same mobility to be getting up and checking their smoke alarms. They may not be spending time thinking about some of the safety things, and even have the ability to move quickly and appropriately to get out of their house in the event of a fire. Be aware of who some of the people around you are who may, one way or the other, have some kind of challenges about dealing with the fire safety in their home. Check in on them, help them with that. And if you become aware that there is a fire in the home of a neighbor or someone else, and you know particularly that they may have some issues getting quickly and safely out of their home, and there's something that you can do to help them quickly without endangering yourself, be aware of that. We do want to go on now and let you know some things that are coming up in the next few weeks. And here's a little bit about that.
If you do not have everything that they're looking for, because they want that unicorn, make sure you have highlighted the things that you do have that they're looking for. Mm-hmm. And I tell people, I'm not kidding, physically take the highlighter in Word, like physically highlight it. If they want a specific software, highlight it on your resume. If they want a specific industry, highlight it on your resume. If it's like something that you've done, like maybe an ROI, like return on investment that you have accomplished, highlight that on your resume. Show them why. You basically have to say, this is why you should hire me, even though I'm missing this X piece. And you don't want to call out that you don't have that X piece. What you want to do is that you want to call out all the other things and make sure it's very, very apparent that you have all the other things, if you're missing just that one or two things.
And because I'm often, like, I am in sessions and in the studio most days of my life, so I don't think it's productive for me to only want to work one way, because I need to be able to pull out ideas all the time. So I think naturally, like when I first started writing songs when I was 6 or something, it very much was lyrics and melody at the same time. Like it all kind of comes to me at once. But I would say now it depends on how I'm working, because sometimes I'll make like a beat and I'll produce something and then I'll write to that. Sometimes I'll like have a melody idea. Sometimes I'll have a lyric idea. Usually I find that they kind of coincide with each other.
And it is a lot of work. There's a weekend every year when I think we are never going to get this done.
And he always says, we're not doing this next year.
We're not doing this next year. I can't believe that I'm still doing this. This is crazy. Things aren't working the way they should, and I'm just desperate. And that, I think, last year was when our friends took a little pity on us. And I was like, can you help with this? Can you help with that? And they said, oh, sure. And they were starting to get into it. So I'm hoping that they will not have been deterred after last year's experience. I think they're good to do it again this year.
Like 20% is your personality and your character, and then 80% is work. So it's a little bit also for me like with sport, yes, but so we need the very skilled body to play the piano, especially like the whole body, because we see that pianist is playing with fingers, but the fingers are the end of the whole machine, yes, which is playing. So the whole body is involved in playing.
Yeah, we got some fun ones coming up there. I think you could gather that from that video. And a few more things that we do have coming up in the near future, just to let you know. We are going to be revisiting our conversation on artificial intelligence sometime soon, we think in, again, early November. There were just so many things that came out of the conversation that Carissa had with Christopher as the guest to talk about artificial intelligence in our day-to-day lives, and just continuing to see things popping up about that, about some of the uses of artificial intelligence, some of the things that may be beneficial tools, and some of the things that may be and are a little bit disconcerting, at least to some of us. So we're going to be going back and talking about artificial intelligence in more detail soon. It's just, I think it's a topic we may come back and revisit multiple times in the coming months and years. And then we have another special guest coming up in November at some point, Ilyasha Pete. Illy is a leader in the community. She works in the nonprofit sector. She is an expert on leadership development, and she has recently written and published a book from the perspective of being both a woman and a person of color, but also someone who decided not to let some of the obstacles stop her from moving forward in her career, in her life, and in the things about which she is most passionate. She wrote a book called Glass Ceilings, Fragile Ground, which I have here. I'm in the process of reading her book right now. And Illy is going to be on the show and share a lot of her perspective. I think it's going to be a fantastic conversation. They all are. All of our guests are amazing and fantastic. And then we are putting together that book club panel. So please make sure that you're helping us out with that. If you are, or if you know somebody who is a book club person, let us know, or let them know to get in touch with us, because we want to get that finalized and put together as well. What are the topics you'd like to discuss? Who are the guests that you'd like to see on this show? So many of our guests. Jeff Feen was first introduced to us by one of you. And we want to make sure that we're not just, I don't like to be tunnel visioned about the topics or the guests that come on Coffee Breaks with Steve. This is your conversation. You are around the virtual coffee table for these conversations. So let us know by sending us an email at cbwsteve@comcast.net, the topics, the guests, the ideas that you have. Share any ideas, share your thoughts, share the things that you would like to see us continue to do or do differently on the show. We want to hear from you, and we want to continue to make this relevant and worthwhile and fun, basically. All right. And then just a reminder that we are not only on Facebook, where most of you join to be participants in the chat live, but we are also on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel also takes every one of these shows and makes them available. And this is a place where, well beyond what we're doing here on Saturdays during the live stream, people from everywhere can find our episodes, can find our guests, and can tune in. Wouldn't it be great if there were just hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, who could listen to and watch and hear from Jeff Feen talking about fire safety, if lives were saved because people who might not have any familiarity with who I am, or even what Coffee Breaks with Steve is on Facebook, found this episode, and there was something about that that clicked. So many of our topics, so many of our guests, I think, just are worthwhile for other people to see. So just remember, we've got that YouTube channel, and if you are not a subscriber, please subscribe. Please watch, like, hit the bell on to be reminded when new videos come up, and share it with people around you. We have grown. We have our subscriptions have grown, but we could grow a lot more and reach a lot more people. So thank you for that. I want to once again thank Jeff Feen for being here. I knew that Jeff would not be able to tune in live today. I know that he had other priorities today, but he'll come in and watch later. I know he'll be able to respond additionally to any questions and comments that you put there. So thank you, Jeff. I also want to say thank you to every one of you for being here. Please do take this opportunity during this week and during the month of October to review all the safety elements in your home, but also think about your neighbor. Think about other people who you could make sure have this information, make sure are living safely. Think about all the things that you could be doing to touch lives. And please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. God bless you. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on Coffee Breaks with Steve.